Welcome to episode 28 of the Travel Calumet Original Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Sentz, and today's episode features two guests. First, making her initial appearance on the Travel Calumet Original Podcast is Maria Thomson. Maria, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here. Maria is the Natural Resource Program Assistant for Ledgeview Nature Center here in Chilton. My other guest is no stranger to the Travel Calumet Original Podcast. Do you know that making your third appearance puts you in the pantheon of guests, because you're the only guest that's been on 3 times so far?
Do I get frequent flyer points?
You get something. We'll figure it out later. So again, always great to have you on the show, Louise. Louise, for those of you that don't know, is Calumet County's Naturalist Supervisor, and she is the fearless leader of everything that's happening with the great team out here at Ledgeview Nature Center. So welcome to you again, to you both. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Good. With the trees in Calumet County, for those of you that aren't able to see what we're seeing, obviously it's a audio format, so you're not. But as I drove over here to the Nature Center today, I noticed that there's even a different tint to the greens even now that I'm seeing in the leaves. And with that happening here in Wisconsin, we know fall is just around the corner. So one of the most popular fall events that happens out here is the Candlelight Cave Tour. And that takes place here every fall. And Louise, what exactly is a Candlelight Cave Tour?
Well, Candlelight Cave Tour is our iteration of a Halloween event, if you like. So it's always something that we look forward to towards the end of the year. It's the last of our big events for the year. It's got a long history out here at Ledgeview. In fact, it's probably the event that has the longest history. So it was first held in 1993. So we're looking at more than 30 years we've been holding this event every year. Well, except for 2020, of course, but we won't talk about that. Initially, it was a small event. There was only about 50 people that attended the first year. And by the second year, in 1994, there was 150 people. And I think the thing that drew people to this event was, well, who doesn't want to go in a cave that's lit up by candles? A little bit different for Halloween, right? Mm-hmm. The event has grown over the years, and it has become something that is a real celebration of Halloween out here, but not in a scary sense, because Ledgeview is an environmental education center. People have been returning year after year. Some of them have returned with their own children. People that have come to the event as children themselves now come and tell us, oh, this is so cool that you guys still do this, because we're able to bring our kids here. So it's really rewarding to hear that people have such a following of this event.
So I'm to understand that this is not an ominous, scary adventure, people hiding in trees, jumping out at you, but this is genuinely a family venue meant to focus on the caves and the history, the natural history behind them, instead of getting caught up in some of the hoopla that you might see in some other Halloween type of attractions. Maria, is that a safe way to describe the event?
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely a good way to describe it. It's intended to be something that families and friends can come to enjoy themselves and to learn a little bit of something. So essentially, there's different tours that you can sign up for. We ask that you do register ahead because there's specific tour time slots and there's a capacity for each of the tours. But along the path, you'll be led down a lantern-lit path through the woods and down to the candlelit caves. And along the path, you encounter interesting characters. And you get to giggle and laugh. You get to learn something new while you're enjoying the outdoors in a unique environment. So I'd say, yes, that's definitely a good way to explain it. When it comes to the duration of the tours, they're about an hour and a half total.
Okay.
And they're going to be taking place outside, of course, so you want to dress for the weather. Sometimes in the fall, it can be really cold early. Sometimes it can be nice and warm. So just dress according to what you see, on the weather.
And while you're in the actual cave,
Right.
Do they want to bring maybe a windbreaker along if it's a nice warm night, and maybe a heavier jacket just in case?
Yeah, the caves are going to be around 55 degrees, and there's an opportunity in the caves for you to go through a tunnel if you'd like as well. So The cave section is not required, but of course that's a big pull for the event overall. And if you do choose to go into the caves, you'll be able to go through a crawling tunnel if you want to, and there's a chance you'll get a little bit dirty there too. So having a windbreaker on, having, shoes like tennis shoes or something that you wouldn't mind getting a little dirty is a good idea as well.
Okay. Louise, what goes into planning an event like this? I mean, it's got to be a big undertaking. I'm hearing that there's people that are interacting with the visitors. You've got to light the candles in the cave. I mean, can you just maybe walk listeners through everything that you guys have to do to put this together, Louise?
Well, Rick, I can walk you through what I do for the event.
Okay, fair enough.
But the real planning of the event falls under Maria's title.
Okay.
I can say that it's something that begins months out, and she'll be able to allude to that a little more. As far as what I do, especially for this event, is I take a lot of pride in putting 300 to 400 candles throughout the cave system. There are oil lamps, and I get to go down there every day and see the cave by flashlight with a bunch of school kids. But it's so beautiful creating an atmosphere of a candlelit cave. I try to make it look more and more special every year. I also prepare dinner for the volunteers both nights. We believe it's important to feed our volunteers. But planning for the event, well, that's something that started already, right, Maria?
Mm-hmm. So planning for each of the fundraisers, that we have generally starts 2 to 3 months in advance. And that is when we start to discuss which Calumet County Parks Department staff will be able to be utilized and for what roles, what the ticket costs are going to be, if we're changing tour times or skits, let's say, for the actual fundraiser, for this one in particular. And then from there, we go into building our publicity, looking at putting together ticket structure on our reservation website, what kinds of ways we can promote the fundraiser and who to reach out to for that, recruiting volunteers. Depending on the event itself, we have a variety of needs for the volunteers. Because the Candlelight Cave Tours event is a 2-night event, we use over 60 volunteers for that weekend.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of communication that takes place months ahead of time because these are family events, and fortunately the people who volunteer are also oftentimes families, and so they have other things that they might be needing to attend to as well. So we try to reach out to them as far in advance as we can to make sure people are available. And then if they're new to the role, then I'll set up a time to meet with them and train them in that role, answer any questions they have so that when they get there for the day of the event, they feel comfortable and confident and they're ready to go and help people through their experience.
And how many people attend, Maria? Would you ask me? What are you planning for, I guess?
Around 500 people.
Okay.
Over the course of the 2 nights.
Yeah, okay.
We're really fortunate with this event because it's had such a long history with returning families year after year. People are anticipating it and they're ready usually to sign up. And so we're very lucky to sell out of our tickets. And so that's where that number really comes from. We won't turn people away if they do choose to come the day of. It's just keep in mind, please, of course, that we would have those capacity limits, and the people that sign up ahead, we're going to be respectful of their placement, but we don't want to turn people away. Ultimately, we're really fortunate to have people that are here to support the Nature Center in the first place.
You're planning the event, and what kind of things do you run into that you learned from maybe a volunteer that has coached you up on this didn't really work so well last year? What kind of interaction do you have there with the volunteers, and how do you apply the knowledge that you gain from them in your planning process, Maria? That's
a really great question. So because, again, these events have been going on for years now, so that's years prior to when I became a part of it. And so I understand and recognize the value in the input of the volunteers because they have experience. And I will go around, you'll see me the day of the event going around and jotting down notes from people. How can we improve? What can we do better? Oftentimes it comes down to the logistics of how things can be more efficient or easy for the volunteers. Things that they've received feedback from visitors about what they might like to see incorporated. Something like, well, I'd like to start maybe in the back classroom of the nature center versus starting outside at the front doors. So things like that make it ultimately more enjoyable for the volunteers and for the visitors in their experience here.
Louise, you mentioned before lighting the candles in the cave and how cool that is. And you said there were oil lamps.
Mm-hmm.
Did you experiment with other type of lighting before you got to oil lamps? And if so, what kind of things did you learn that really aren't such a great idea or are maybe work not as well as the oil lamp does?
Well, yes, because this event has such a long history, there has been an experimentation process involved in coming up with what we currently do. A couple of different options that we have used in the past. We have used some LED. It doesn't give the same kind of ambience that a naked flame does. Also in the past we used candles, wax candles themselves, but they tend to burn fairly unevenly. And one year I believe there was also mistakenly scented candles purchased, which you think might be nice, depending on how overpowering it is, of course, because when you get a couple of hundred of them in there. So we have arrived at the oil lamps. Now, we use those at a level that is off the floor. The level that we light when we are lighting the floor, at that level, of course, we're using LED. But we use the soft glow ones. We don't want anybody lighting their pants on fire or anything like that. So, and also through the tunnel, which is optional as part of the experience, we put LED lights through there as well because we don't want any hair burned off.
Is it kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of feel to it when you see him kind of going through the corridors when he's off on his adventures? Is that the feel?
Oh, sure is. And I'm really surprised, how many people actually want to have that experience after they've walked through the caves and seen it lit by candlelight to take it one step further and crawl through a tunnel. We just used the one tunnel for this event. We have numerous tunnels in the cave system, but there's one that's fairly straight, fairly smooth. It's a crawl all the way, and it's only about 40 feet, so why not give it a go, right?
Mm-hmm. We talked earlier, too, about the volunteers and how they help make this a better effort from the feedback that they provide to you. And Maria, you touched on that, and maybe you can start with the answer to this part of this question. Obviously, you have the volunteers as part of that community, that neighborhood that you're working with to pull off this event. What other type of relationships, community relationships, do you have in order to make this come off seamlessly and successfully?
So any event that we do here is really a community event, and I'd like to start with the fact that there's a partnership between the Calumet County Parks Department and the Friends of Ledgeview Nature Center, and that's ultimately how these events are able to operate. But we need supplies, and those supplies are going to come from local businesses, and we are very, very fortunate to have local businesses that support us year after year in our events, providing things like apple cider and pumpkins. And for this particular event, there's generally about 40 to 50 pumpkins that we are donated that are brought to Chilton High School. And there's a Chilton High School art teacher who works with her students to get them carved and then brought back here, and they're put out along the trail. We have a partnership as well with St. Lawrence Seminary School students, that's in Mount Calvary, and those students are the ones who act in the skits along the trails every year. So we really can't do this without the rest of the community. We talk a lot about how Ledgeview is a team, and we mean that in the staff and the community and the friends group and the businesses that make this possible.
And Louise, I'm assuming that some of those businesses that you're working with include a lot of the popular tourist destinations of the county. Is that a pretty safe assumption?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So really, we're looking at this is a real effort, and not only by the Parks Department, but by the entire county and all of its citizens to draw people in to take a look and say, hey, this is Calumet County, this is pretty cool and closer than you think. So you talked earlier about the volunteers, and we've heard about how some people have gone through as kids and now are coming back as adults and bringing their own children. Maria, do you have any anecdotes from anybody, maybe attendees or volunteers that have said that to you and maybe talked about that?
Yeah, so there are numerous volunteers that we have for our fundraising events that their kids are now becoming involved, and then their grandkids are becoming involved. And so there's a few families actually that come to mind where they've really gained experience in particular roles, let's say like running concessions and offering popcorn and apple cider, or maybe ice cream at the Maple Syrup Sunday event, and they really have it down. And now they're bringing their grandkids in, and their grandkids are here, and they're helping out, and they're learning from their grandparents about what it means to be involved in a community and to volunteer. That's a really cool thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Not too many events can tout that. You mentioned the maple syrup event as well. And could you talk maybe about some of the other events that are going on in addition, not at the same time, obviously, but throughout the course of the year that you have to plan for? Louise, you want to start off with that?
Sure. Well, we always like to start our event calendar each year with the Maple Syrup Sunday event, which generally happens in the third weekend of March. And it's a pancake breakfast. We invite families to come out and enjoy breakfast, or if they stay longer, even up to lunchtime. Some pancakes and ham, and do a sugar bush tour to learn how we tap trees and turn the sap into maple syrup. Moving into May, we have a caveman adventure run walk out here in the park, which utilizes the trail system here, and along with part of the cave system to do an adventure run. There are obstacles, fun kind of things that people can do along the way. It is a family event again, so we say run walk. We have a couple of different phases. The really serious people go out first as runners, and then there are people walking, and finally the last wave is people with their furry family members. We invite dogs to come along and participate in that event. And then the last one of the year is the Candlelight Cave Tour that we've been talking about. So
Okay. And the caveman, it kind of sounds like it invites the opportunity for people to kind of dress differently for it. Does that happen at all?
Oh, absolutely. We encourage people to dress up as cavemen or cave women or cave dogs, I guess. And we do give prizes for people that dress up because we think that it really helps to add to the atmosphere of the day.
Maria, I know there's planning obviously for the event that we started talking about, the cave tour, the Candlelight Cave Tour, but you're not allowed to just, I'm planning for this and ignore the other ones. I'm assuming that you're planning for all these at the same time as you go through the year?
Yes, and it of course depends on what that particular event needs at that time. But for the Caveman Run event, that one we have to plan really far ahead for because it's largely supported by sponsors. And so there are local businesses that get the information about, of course, the date that needs to be set a year in advance for each of our fundraisers, the date, how they can provide their sponsorship, when they need to do so by, so that we can make sure that we're providing them with the appropriate acknowledgement. So, and then when it comes to things like preparing orders and inventory and all of that, that kind of shifts throughout the year depending on supplies we might use for one that we can use in another one. So yes, we do plan for these events throughout the year. Generally speaking, each one gets the bulk of its coordination within about 2 to 3 months in advance, but it of course depends on the specific one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a staff member here who hasn't had a dream about one of our events in the nights leading up to it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I heard the word dream and not any other words. So that's good. That's good. Okay. So about how many people attend those other events? Of course, we had 500 for the cave tours, the Candlelight Cave Tours, excuse me. What kind of other numbers do you have for like the Caveman Run and the Maple Syrup event?
The Maple Syrup event is around 400. That one has a similar sort of structure to the Candlelight Cave Tours in the capacity that you have tours and specific breakfast time slots. And then the Caveman Run event, that started, it's the newest fundraiser that we have. And it started just before things had shut down because of the COVID pandemic. And at that stage, there was around 230 people that had attended. And then we had shutdowns. And since then, we've been trying to build it back up. And so we've had slightly fluctuating numbers in the year since we've reopened. But it is rising, and we're really grateful for that.
So you bring on all comers for that event at this point. You'd love to see 1,000?
Oh, we would love to see 1,000.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing that we've done with that event in the past couple of years, because it is evolving more into a family event rather than a competitive runner event, we invite people to stay for a picnic afterwards, and we get a band out here, and we have refreshments, Wisconsin-style refreshments, if you know what I'm saying, brats, burgers, things like that. So we're finding that people are giving us good feedback about the changes we've made to the event, so we really hope to grow the Caveman Run in the future.
So it's a good party atmosphere.
It
Fun,
absolutely
family
is.
fun party
Yep.
atmosphere. Oh, that's great. The Candlelight Cave Tour this year, could you maybe go over the schedule so people know when they can make their plans and give them the information of how to register for it as well? And Maria, you want to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the tickets for the Candlelight Cave Tours are going to go live on September 4th. And the only place that we sell our tickets are on our reservation website. Or you can come into the Nature Center and speak directly to staff, and we can help you to register, or you can give us a call. But the reason that I say it's only on our website is because, unfortunately, we have had instances in the past where people have posted on Facebook that they're selling tickets, and that's not how that works. You do need to purchase tickets from our Nature Center.
So what I'm hearing you say, Maria, is the best thing that people should do in order to, if they want to come to the Candlelight Cave Tour, is they should go directly to the website. Mm-hmm. They should go to there themselves. They should go ahead and buy the tickets themselves. Mm-hmm. That way they know they're guaranteed of actually having a genuine real ticket to the event, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And if anybody is uncomfortable with utilizing our reservation system, we certainly understand that not everybody is comfortable putting their information on the internet. And that's okay, we get that. That's where we would say, please come in and talk to us, because we don't want to turn people away.
What were the dates again for the...
October 4th and October 5th.
Okay, and this is kind of supposed to be a Halloween event. Louise, isn't that a little early for Halloween this year?
Yes, well, typically we would be holding the event closer to Halloween. In fact, traditionally it's always been done the weekend before Halloween. However, this year we've got some exciting plans in the works, you might say. We will be closing down the building sometime around early November, because we'll be doing a renovation here this winter for an undisclosed period of time. We're hoping shorter rather than longer. It's exciting for us because this renovation will help us to better serve the needs of the school groups and the people that come here for our programs. We have also taken the opportunity to address some of the maintenance issues that we have in this quite old building. So even though we're having to hold this event a little earlier than we would like to, because it is a Halloween themed event, we're really excited about the prospect of the new building and everything that will come along with that.
What are you allowed to talk about as far as what the new building will entail, or I should say the improvements to the structure?
Well, I can tell you that the roof's getting fixed, which is really nice, and we'll no longer have water flooding under the wall when we get a heavy rain. Also really nice.
That's a good thing.
But other than that, you'll have to stay tuned.
All right. So listeners, pay attention to that if you want to get that look and glimpse. Once the construction project is done, you'll have to be listening here and checking the website for those details and dates to be one of the first to see all the exciting changes that are coming to the Ledgeview Nature Center. Maria, anything you want to add for folks that are interested in attending the event as far as logistics, parking, anything like that?
Sure. So parking can be done right here at the center. We have volunteers that'll be stationed all along the path that people would take to park to show them right where they can go. So there's people essentially throughout this entire process. There's people to help you. There's people to guide you down the trails. There's people to greet you when you come in. There's people to help you if you want popcorn or apple cider to warm up either before or after your tour. There's going to be staff throughout the process as well if you have any particular questions that volunteers might not be able to answer for you. And there's also opportunities for you to get involved as a volunteer if you want to learn more about how to volunteer at the Nature Center. We'd be happy to bring in more volunteers at any time that we can, because volunteers are really significant to what we do day to day here. So even outside of our fundraising events, we use volunteers throughout all 4 seasons.
And if there's any businesses out there, organizations looking to maybe be sponsors, they should contact you as well?
Definitely, please. We appreciate the support.
Okay. And Maria, could you give everybody that email address, or I should say that website address we've talked about? It's so important that you want to go ahead and get the tickets and things. Can
Yes.
you maybe rattle that off for folks?
So that would be ledgeviewnaturecenter.org.
Okay, pretty simple. All right. And I just have to ask you, Louise, again, a little earlier in the year, does that give you like some real nice relaxation time, or are you guys just going to be so busy in the new project that you're going to be even busier than you were before?
The reason we are holding a little earlier, Rick, is because we have to have everything in this building packed up and out by the end of October. So
no vacation.
no vacation. Okay. We're also running school programming every day throughout the fall. So, yeah.
Okay, and the exterior of the facility will still be available throughout the project, correct? Parts of it?
So the building itself will be completely closed throughout the project, but the park and all the trails will be open.
Okay, so people should not forget that. Wonderful. Well, you've been listening to the Travel Calumet Original Podcast, and my guests today have been Maria Thomson, who is the Natural Resource Program Assistant at Ledgeview Nature Center here in Calumet County, and also our Naturalist Supervisor here for the county, Louise Marum. Appreciate you for taking the time to listen to the program. We look forward to talking to you soon.